Hello, so today I wanted to talk to you guys about using hypochlorous acid in a carpet cleaner. So we bought a house this summer and the carpet was in really good shape, but we definitely wanted to do a cleaning through all the house. But I didn't want to use any of those carpet cleaners with all the chemicals and the scent. I just don't love that. And so I've been using hypochlorous acid like crazy. And so I was like, let's do it. So we bought a brand new carpet cleaner, and I'll link it down below if you're interested in it. And it worked really well. As you know, I had the Force of Nature, right? I technically still have it. It's packed in a box somewhere because when we moved, I haven't taken it out yet because I've just been using the NatureChlor so much. So this is the smallest NatureChlor and it still does, it works really hard. So when I was doing the carpet cleaning in our house, our entire basement is finished, it has carpet. And so we knew we were gonna need a lot. And then there's 2 rooms on the main floor that have carpet. I needed gallons of hypochlorous acid. And technically this one is up to a quart, right? You're supposed to be using it for a quart. It totally works in the gallon jug. It doesn't work as fast as the NatureChlor Max, the bigger ones, but in a pinch, it can totally work. And so if you're planning on making gallons or even a 5-gallon bucket, you're gonna want the bigger NatureChlor because it just makes sense. But if you're just thinking, okay, here and there, I'm gonna need a gallon and mostly quarts, then you could totally use your smallest NatureChlor. Because I just needed gallons as well as containers to hold it. I did buy a bunch of the distilled water gallon jugs, and I cut a hole in the top. So one thing with cutting the hole in the top, obviously needs to be bigger enough, but also because I pour it, and I don't have a funnel, I just pour it in. You don't want the original slit to be where you're gonna pour. So if you make your first cut here, then it's gonna be difficult to pour it in accurately. And so just keep that in mind if you decide to do this. I filled it almost to the top. Obviously we need enough room for the water that gets displaced from this, as well as adding the vinegar. So if you haven't done this before, you may wanna take your pH strips and you may want to check what the pH in your water is before, so you kind of have an idea of how much vinegar you're going to need to add. But I'll show you what my pH is of my tap water here. Okay, yeah, so it looks like it landed right about at 7. Yeah, not quite 8, so I'd say it's about a 7. So that gives you an idea of how much vinegar I end up adding to my water. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the vinegar now. So for my pH of 7 and adding it to a whole gallon, I use just over a 1/4 cup. So you may notice a difference. And I have noticed that in different brands of vinegar, I've needed a little bit more or a little bit less. So I'm using a 1/4 cup and then just a tiny bit more. Remember that the salt needs to be pure, no additives. You don't want sea salt as well because that can have I think minerals in it or something like that. So the Morton's canning salt is really good. The Diamond Crystal kosher salt is good. There's other kosher salts that do have anti-caking ingredients though. So just look at the ingredients and it should just say salt, that's it. So keep in mind too, the grain size matters. So the canning salt is kind of very similar to table salt. I don't know if it's maybe slightly finer than table salt, I'm not sure. But it's definitely finer than the Diamond Crystal salt, which is what I used to use and then I ran out of it. So I would need a little bit more of the Diamond Crystal salt because I think the flakes were just bigger and so you just didn't get as much in the teaspoon. But for this, I'm just going to be adding a teaspoon to this and we'll get it going. And you're just gonna give it a quick mix. The nice thing about the canning salt also is it dissolves a lot faster just because the grains are a little bit smaller, but both salts work perfectly fine. You're gonna go ahead and put your NatureChlor inside. Ta-da! Hook it up to the power cord. I'm gonna go ahead and plug this in right now. So I know for me, with a teaspoon of salt, it takes about, I wanna say, how long is it? It's been a while. That I've made a whole gallon before. I think it takes about 30 to 40 minutes. So it takes a little bit longer because you have to remember these are a little bit smaller than the larger NatureChlor ones. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and let this run. I'll set my timer for 30 minutes. It is running and you can see the bubbles just forming. Our 30-minute timer just went off. I'm gonna grab my strips here, and these strips came with the NatureChlor, which is pretty cool. And they go to 300 parts per million. So we're gonna go ahead and dip it in and see what we got. And so if you look, it looks like it is right at 200, which is absolutely perfect. So that was 30 minutes. And again, this may vary a little bit for you depending on how much salt is in there and all that kind of stuff. We're gonna check pH. We're hoping that it comes out to be about 5.5. We can pull this out too. So the new NatureChlor, I believe they put a hole in the bottom so it drains a little bit better, but I've got this one. It's about a year old. It's been working good, so that's good. Okay, so let's take a look here and see what we get. I like to keep a little bit of it still like that orange color because I think it helps me a little bit to make sure I'm seeing the colors right. So here we're at, I'm going to be looking at mostly like the middle of the strip, not this end, not like this part where it's hitting like the dry part. I'm gonna look at right in the middle. It is about 5. This is where you would adjust your vinegar. If you're noticing it's too reddish, then you need less vinegar. If it's too close to like 7, 8, like more greenish. And I guess depending on your test strips, the colors might be different, but then you might need a little bit more vinegar. I labeled this hypochlorous acid, so I know that it's not because it's clear, right? I'm gonna go ahead and fill this up and then we'll have a gallon of hypochlorous acid. So I'm transferring it to this because sometimes I don't use it right away, but if I am gonna use it, I could probably, depending on how big an opening I have in my carpet cleaner, I could probably just pour it directly in there. Or if you have a funnel, obviously that's also really handy. But there you go, that's a great way to store it. So let me show you the carpet cleaner really quick. Super great way to clean your carpets without having like all the chemicals. So this is the carpet cleaner that we chose. I did a little bit of research and read some reviews, and it's the Bissell Revolution. Overall, it worked really good. The only complaint I have for it is that in the bottom here, and you can see, and I think this is somewhat common in different models as well, there's not like a convenient way to clean this out. So if you go, it comes with like a little tool that if you go underneath, you can like kind of pull out like all this gunk that comes up here. And we always thoroughly vacuum before using this, like double vacuum, triple vacuum, and still like it's just pulling up like debris. And so it's just not convenient to clean this part out. And so that's why it's kind of stuck in here. We need to go in with that tool and scrape it out. But overall, it worked really good. So up here, this is the compartment where you would put the hypochlorous acid, and it comes out there into the vacuum. And then here is where you would pour it in. So it's not like a huge spout, but if it's in the gallon jug, it goes in pretty easily, or you could use a funnel as well. And then down here is where all the like dirty water goes. And then you can remove this and empty it into like a toilet or wherever you choose to do that. Overall, it worked really good. We were super happy with the results. And I mentioned before that the carpets when we moved in were in really good shape. So there were no stains that we needed to take out. And so I can't speak for how well the hypochlorous acid would do with like spot removing in the carpet cleaner. And so just keep that in mind as well. The carpet cleaner was super easy to use. You hold the trigger at the handle as you move slowly forward, and it allows the hypochlorous acid to come out. Then release the trigger and very slowly move backward. This is going to brush and suck up the dirt from the carpet. So I like to go very slowly when I'm moving backwards. And you can see how dirty the water is and the debris that's getting sucked up. And this was after we thoroughly vacuumed twice. Some of you may be wondering if you can just use your Force of Nature and just make it in there and use it in your carpet cleaner, and you definitely can. It's just gonna take a lot longer because it's such a smaller amount, although I did hear Force of Nature is making a larger device, so that's also really cool. Just so you know, it is very likely that you will void the warranty on your carpet cleaner by using something other than like their specific branded like carpet cleaner, chemical, shampoo stuff, whatever you want to call it. So just a little heads up on that. You may want to weigh the pros and cons to that. But to me, like, it's definitely worth it because I just don't love the smell. I don't love the extra chemicals. Like, my kids are young, they're kneeling on there, they're rolling around on there, they're playing on there. So I like to keep it as clean as possible. All right, well, hopefully you found this video helpful. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see my future videos. And if you have any ideas for like Force of Nature, NatureChlor, hypochlorous acid videos, let me know. I love making these. They're super fun. We'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.